Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm so glad that you stopped by again at Farfromacurse. And as you can see by the title, today's video is going to be centered on home ownership. So let's just get right into it. So this topic actually came up because at my last Bible study, well, a couple Bible studies ago, one of the girls, she was actually asking a question, and it was a very genuine, great question. So she's kind of having like a dilemma between whether she should buy a house or if she should stay in her apartment. So one of the things she said was, how do I know if I'm making the right decision? Like, I want to know that this is God's plan for me. And she was just so concerned about making the wrong decision and not being in God's will. So a lot of us started giving, our advice because she was asking for our opinion on the situation. And of course, I shared my advice with that as well. But I am actually a homeowner myself. And with me going through the home ownership process last year in 2019, it was a lot. It was a lot because I had a lot of moving pieces in my life. And at the time, I was also asking myself the same question. So the story time that I'm kind of going to share with you is parts of that. And then I'm going to wrap it up with some scripture that spoke to me in hindsight. So yeah, let's get right into it for real this time. So when I was going through the process of purchasing my home, initially, I was living in my apartment for about 3 years, and I was in a beautiful apartment. I was in a great part of Atlanta, like literally 15 minutes from everything, and I absolutely loved my area. So I was in love with my apartment so much that I ended up asking my apartment complex, like, hey, do you guys actually rent out any of these apartments like a condo? Like, do you guys sell any of these apartments like a condo? And they were like, no, unfortunately, it's just a rental establishment. So I was just like, dang, okay, whatever. When I first moved into my apartment, after having like such a sad season previously, I fell my face onto the floor and I started praying, and I was like praying for all the rooms, praying for the bathroom, praying for the kitchen. Like, so that apartment has heard my prayers. That apartment has heard my cries. That apartment has heard my joy. That apartment has had parties. That apartment was like my first apartment, my first actual dwelling unit where I was like by myself and was me and God. I ended up moving from my apartment, and when I moved from my apartment, I was so sad, guys. Like, I was so sad. I don't know if you guys know the meme, or if you used to watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. There was this episode when Will Smith was just like sitting there in the empty house, like, and it was like he was just reflecting on all the time. It was hard for me to leave. As you can see, I loved it. And my leasing agents were amazing. I had such a good relationship with the leasing office that they actually purchased a printer for me for my housewarming gift. Like, that's how great that apartment complex was. I love it. So that's how I was in my apartment. So for me to leave that, I was so comfortable there. And I was just so, I was kind of like, dang, like, God, are you really calling me to move on? But I didn't really hear anything from God. I felt like it was time for me to purchase, because I kind of have like all of my stuff together, and I knew that I was going to be in Atlanta for the next couple of years. And I didn't want to be in a position in a few years from now wishing that I would have purchased a home at that time period. So I prayed to God, and I was asking God to like give me kind of like direction on what I should do. And I didn't really get much. I got like a really good realtor, and she literally helped me with understanding the home buying process and the things that I needed. I continued to move forward with the process for buying a home because I felt like I knew that I was going to stay in Atlanta for a couple of years, and my job is here, my school is here, everything is here right now. Why don't I just go ahead and take the leap of faith? Because I am a very careful planner, and I want to know that everything is going to fall in place. But sometimes you just don't know how things are going to fall. My home was a new construction home. So I remember when I first came to the lot and I just could not see the vision. Like I was just like, this is it. Whenever you go into purchasing a new constructed home, you go to the model unit, and the model unit is like beautiful. Like you see the chairs, you see where everything will be placed. You can like imagine how everything's gonna be. I continue to pray. I will pray for my block. I would pray for my neighbors that I will soon have. I would pray for the city the new city I was going to move into, because I wanted to just put everything in God's hands. I ended up eventually moving into my house. And I remember when I moved into my house, I was telling my friend about it, and about how me moving into my house, like, you know, I prayed over it. Even when I came in, me and my mom, we prayed over it and everything on closing day. We prayed over my house. I kind of was just sad because I still didn't know, like, God, like, did you really want me to move here? Like, God, did you really want me to buy a house? Like, it's like I didn't get like that confirmation that I wanted right away. I didn't know if it was specifically supposed to happen this way. Like, was I supposed to get this type of house? Like, you know? So I remember I was praying for this house, and all I can like get in my mind, it wasn't like I heard anything, but all I could get in my mind was blessing. God has taken care of you. There was a time where you were living with other people. There was a time where you had to live with someone specifically, and it wasn't the best situation. And then I took you out of that, and I took care of you and had you in your own apartment. And now I have you in a house. Like, I'm going to continue to protect you and take care of you. So if I'm going to continue to do this, just trust me in this. Like, God, I started feeling like God was telling me, like, yes, I care about the details of everything that's going on, but the ultimate total lesson is I'm going to take care of you no matter what. Now, I know that seems like so basic, and it seems very basic, but I hope that that means something to you, just to calm your anxiety if you have anxiety like me, that God's going to take care of you. Even though I knew God was telling me like it's okay, I was still kind of like, dang, like maybe I should have stayed in my apartment. Maybe I should have moved a year later. 2 months later, I get a message from a friend of a friend. So when I was living in my old apartment, I became cool with one of my neighbors. And when I became cool with one of my neighbors, I would go to her house, and we would have like, she would have house parties and stuff like that. So where all her other friends would come over. So I became cool with her friends. So that friend of a friend basically contacted me, and she was like, hey, Blessing, did you used to live at blank, blank, blank? And I was just like, yeah, I used to live there. And she was like, wow, so I actually got mail, and I knew it was you because there's nobody else with this name. Here's your mail because I actually live in this apartment now. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, I live in this apartment now. Like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God, girl, you are blessed. Like, you are so blessed beyond measure. I prayed that apartment down before I left the apartment. And I prayed when I first got to the apartment, and I prayed when I left the apartment. And she was like, oh my God, girl, like, I already know. Like, when I as soon as I saw your name on the mail, I was like, oh yeah, this is this apartment. I'm good. Because I think she said she was kind of hesitant when she was moving into the apartment, but then when she saw my name, she was like, yeah, I'm good. It's just kind of interesting that God brought it back full circle to me by allowing me to see that even though I didn't know his specific plans for me to move to this home, even though I didn't understand even though I didn't actually hear the exact yes, like, okay, you're good to go. And I just trusted the process, that God still allowed me to witness the yes through seeing the girl that I know being in my apartment and knowing that everything's going to be okay. It kind of felt like that was the confirmation I needed. And it reminds me that sometimes we're not going to get a specific yes, or we're not going to get the specific answer we need right away from God. Sometimes all you have to do is trust God in your process. It made me think of Gideon in the Bible. So if you don't know, Gideon, he was an individual in the Old Testament who was given an assignment by God to go to war. And with Gideon, he actually, I would say, suffered a case of anxiety. He didn't know if God was really calling him to do the work that God called him to do. I'm going to read a small passage from Judges, and we can take it from there. I'll wrap it up after this. Then Gideon said to God, "In order to see whether you will deliver Israel by my hand, as you have said, I am going to lay a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there is dew on the fleece alone, and it is dry on all the ground, then I shall know that you will deliver Israel by my hand, as you have said." And it was so. When he rose early next morning and squeezed the fleece, he wrung enough dew from the fleece to fill a bowl with water. 39. Then Gideon said to God, "Do not let your anger burn against me. Let me speak one more time. Let me please make trial with the fleece just once more. Let it be dry only on the fleece, and on all the ground let there be dew." And God did so that night. It was dry on the fleece only, and on all the ground there was dew. So the thing I love about Gideon and like reading this, he had a certain level of trust with God, but he still needed more confirmation. He still wanted to know if this is exactly what God wanted him to do. He asked God, he contested with God, like, "God, can you please just show me a sign? Give me a sign that you are still here with me. Show me that I'm not just making this up in my head." So the thing that's interesting, one of the things I didn't mention earlier in my story, I kind of had a dream. And usually when I have dreams, like, they happen. And I had a dream a couple months prior when I was even thinking about buying a home, about me being in a home. And at first I was like, well, maybe I'm thinking about that because, a lot of people are buying a home lately, or maybe I'm thinking about that because deep down I want to do it, because who wouldn't want stability? But honestly, for me to go through the home buying process and to see that not everyone is able to go through that, not everyone is able to be set up for that type of responsibility. The more I realized that, the more I realized, okay, this might be God. But God really confirmed it to me whenever he had the friend of a friend show me that she was back in the apartment that I was living in. God didn't have to show me that sign, but I think God allowed her to choose that specific apartment so that he can reveal to me that, "Blessing, I am always with you." One of the things I want you to definitely take away from this is sometimes we don't know exactly what God is calling us to do specifically. But I do believe when you're prepared and when you plan carefully, that when the doors do open, you can run right through it. So for me, what that meant, being prepared to purchase a home, meant that I was stable in my job. My income was steady. My income was continuing to rise over the years. So I had that under my belt. Another thing, I filed my taxes. I had taxes to show that I did have the income that I'm saying that I have to purchase a home. Another thing, my savings were great. I have great savings. Another thing, I had an amazing realtor. If you want to start buying a home, I suggest getting a really good realtor. I mean, she really put me on, and she taught me that the things that I know now about the home buying process and even beyond that. She also was very encouraging. Another thing I had was great counsel. So I only mainly, during the time when I was purchasing a home, I only mainly talked to people that actually had a home as well. So there's just like so many things that I had, but the key elements of me being able to purchase a home, I had that secured. The only thing that would have been able for me to open and unlock the doors to opening a home was God. And I was asking God, of course, for the sign, and God didn't show it to me, but I was prepared. So I was also ready to walk through that door when the door finally opened. But the point that I'm trying to make is, even when you don't understand, trust God and be prepared. Be prepared and trust God. I would like to encourage you to read on Gideon. It is a great story of triumph by only having a little, and God being at the forefront and fighting the battle for the Israelites. I also want you to know that when you are prepared, God will take care of you. And even when you feel unprepared, God will take care of you. So that's pretty much it. And I hope that this video brings you more comfort to the individual out there that's probably really contemplating if they should buy a house right now because they don't know if they're hearing from God. I just hope that this encourages you to continue to wait and be still and be prepared. Oh yeah, and if you have anything else to say, if you have any questions or comments, don't forget to leave it down below. And actually let me know if you've actually purchased a home and what your home buying process was, and do you feel like it was all God? Or if you feel like it was just you that did it and you realized it was God a couple months later or a couple years later, or if you felt like there were some mistakes, just leave the comments down below, because I really love to hear from you and I love to respond. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.